Have you ever felt a strange pull backward, a subtle sabotage, or a sudden shift in someone's behavior precisely when you started feeling stronger, setting boundaries, or truly finding your voice? It can be incredibly disorienting, leaving you conflicted and questioning your own progress. If this resonates, you've touched upon a profound psychological dynamic, one deeply explored by the visionary psychiatrist, Carl Jung. His work provides a vital framework for understanding why some individuals react defensively or even aggressively when faced with another's growing inner strength. Today we're going to delve into this complex dance using Jung's lens, uncovering the hidden mechanisms at play and offering clarity to navigate these challenging waters. Prepare to gain valuable insights that can empower your path forward. Carl Jung understood the complex dynamics of the psyche, recognizing how deeply intertwined our inner world is with our external interactions. At the heart of the narcissist's struggle, as Carl Jung's work helps us see, lies a profoundly fragile ego structure, often hidden behind a carefully constructed and rigid persona. This persona is a mask designed to project an image of superiority and invulnerability, desperately concealing a deeply repressed shadow, the part of themselves they cannot bear to see. Insecurity, inadequacy, shame. This shadow lies buried in the unconscious, influencing their actions in ways they often aren't consciously aware of. Their greatest fear isn't just being left or criticized in a superficial sense, but witnessing another person's genuine growth, their journey towards individuation. Individuation, in Jungian terms, is the process of becoming one's true self, integrating the various parts of the personality, including the shadow, and aligning with one's inner core. When the victim starts this journey, perhaps setting boundaries, finding their voice, or simply feeling a stronger sense of self-worth and purpose, they are connecting with their own inner self. This connection is authentic power, independent of external validation. For the narcissist, this awakening in their victim is perceived as an existential threat. The victim's growing strength, their developing connection to their self, directly challenges the narcissist's elaborate persona and their fragile ego's need for constant external supply and control. It disrupts the established dynamic where the victim served to prop up the narcissist's false image. This shift is what triggers the power reversal crisis. Suddenly, the narcissist senses their control slipping, their elaborate persona threatened by the victim's emerging authenticity and independence. They perceive their source of validation withdrawing, and their deepest fears, the contents of their own shadow, begin to surface, reflected back at them by the victim's growing light. To combat this perceived threat to their ego, they launch what feels like a final assault. This is not merely a reaction. It's often a targeted, strategic campaign designed to halt the victim's progress, to shatter their burgeoning sense of self, and to pull them back into the narcissist's orbit of control. The primary weapon in this assault is psychological projection, a mechanism Carl Jung frequently wrote about. The narcissist takes their own unacceptable qualities, the fear, the inadequacy, the malice, the emptiness that resides in their shadow and is hidden in their unconscious, and projects them fiercely onto the victim. They might accuse the victim of being selfish, manipulative, crazy, or abusive, the very traits they embody or fear in themselves. This constant bombardment of projections is an attempt to make the victim internalize the narcissist's shadow, to doubt their own perceptions and progress, and to force them back into the role they previously occupied, effectively halting their process of individuation. It's a desperate maneuver to regain control by undermining the victim's reality and sense of self. Understanding this involves looking deeply into the unconscious mind, both the narcissist's repressed fears driving the behavior and the victim's inner world seeking expression and wholeness. The intensity of this attack can feel like a psychic assault on the victim's emerging self, a direct challenge to their right to exist authentically. Jung's concept of archetypes is relevant here. The narcissist may be driven by archaic power archetypes that feel threatened by the victim's emerging inner hero or wise person archetypes. This struggle for inner sovereignty can manifest in various ways, often showing up powerfully in dreams. The victim's dreams might be filled with symbols reflecting the inner battle for autonomy, showing images of being trapped, chased, or fighting for freedom. Recognizing these symbols and the underlying dynamics illuminated by Carl Jung is crucial to navigating this crisis. Sometimes synchronicity might even play a role, bringing meaningful coincidences that either reinforce the struggle or offer strange moments of clarity guiding the victim through the chaos and pointing towards their own path. The aim of this final assault is profoundly destabilizing, to make the victim doubt everything they've gained, to sever their connection to their nascent self, and pull them back into the shadow world of the narcissist's control, preventing the full realization of their individuation. But understanding this process, seeing the projection for what it is, thanks to the insights provided by Carl Jung, offers a crucial shield and a path forward. It allows the victim to recognize that the attack is not a reflection of their inherent worth, but a desperate maneuver born from the narcissist's own internal fragmentation and fear of their unconscious shadow being exposed by the victim's growing light. The strength shaming is a direct attack on the victim's burgeoning ego. The narcissist seeks to dismantle the newly formed sense of self-worth and confidence, labeling these healthy developments as negative traits like coldness or arrogance. They want to reactivate the old persona, the compliant facade the victim wore to survive the relationship, which was easily controlled. This old persona was shaped by the narcissist's projections and expectations, designed to keep the victim small and dependent. When the victim starts shedding this skin, expressing their authentic ego strength, it feels like an existential threat to the narcissist, whose own fragile ego is heavily invested in maintaining the power imbalance. If strength shaming fails to coerce the victim back into the old role, the narcissist deploys nostalgic manipulation. This tactic bypasses the victim's conscious defenses and targets the emotional residue of the past. By evoking memories of a supposedly better time, often a highly idealized and false version of the relationship's beginning or moments of intermittent reinforcement, they try to trigger feelings of longing, guilt, or confusion. They'll speak of the old you with a tone of wistful sadness, suggesting that the current, stronger version is somehow disappointing or broken. This is a psychological tactic to create cognitive dissonance and emotional turmoil, making the victim doubt their present reality and the difficult steps they've taken towards their own individuation. The goal is to create a powerful emotional pullback into the familiar, albeit destructive, dynamic. This manipulation relies on the victim's unconscious attachments and historical emotional patterns. The narcissist is essentially using symbols from the shared past to manipulate the victim's feelings, hoping to re-establish a connection based on sentimentality rather than current reality. They prey on the natural human tendency to sometimes romanticize the past, particularly during times of difficult change and growth. The old you they yearn for is not a real person, but an archetype of the compliant victim, a projection of the narcissist's need for control and their fear of abandonment. Understanding this through the lens of Carl Jung is incredibly clarifying. The victim's struggle is fundamentally one of separating their authentic self from the false self, or persona, imposed by the relationship dynamic. The narcissist's attacks are not against the victim's true nature, but against the process of individuation itself, the journey towards becoming a whole, integrated person, conscious of both their light and their shadow. The narcissist fears the victim's wholeness because it threatens their own fragmented state and exposes their own unresolved shadow material. The unconscious plays a critical role in this battle. While the narcissist tries to consciously manipulate with words and memories, the victim's unconscious is often already signaling the true nature of the situation through dreams and symbols. Dreams might depict the narcissist as a monstrous figure, a cage, or a deceptive mask, while the victim appears as someone breaking free, finding their voice, or navigating treacherous waters. These symbols are the unconscious mind's way of validating the conscious realization that the relationship is harmful and the path forward lies in liberation, despite the painful emotional hooks the narcissist tries to reassert. Paying attention to these dreams and symbols, interpreting the messages from the deep unconscious is vital. It's like getting navigation coordinates from your inner Carl Jung, guiding you towards your true north. Sometimes, in moments of intense struggle, synchronicity can offer unexpected confirmation or challenge. A chance encounter, a phrase overheard, a book falling open. Seemingly unrelated events might carry symbolic weight, reinforcing the victim's resolve or highlighting a truth the narcissist is trying to obscure. These meaningful coincidences can feel like validation from the universe, supporting the difficult journey away from the manipulative dynamic and towards the authentic self. They are hints from the unconscious, suggesting a larger pattern or meaning at play beyond the immediate conflict. The entire process of resisting strength shaming and nostalgic manipulation is a powerful act of reclaiming the self. It involves consciously choosing to honor the new, stronger ego and to redefine the persona based on internal truth rather than external pressure. It means confronting the shadow aspects of the past relationship, the parts of oneself that were suppressed or distorted, and integrating them into a more complete picture of who you are becoming. This integration is central to Jung's concept of individuation. This journey of individuation, while guided by the inner compass, is often fraught with external challenges designed to pull you back into the familiar toxic orbit. The fabricated vulnerability is perhaps the most insidious of these challenges because it directly targets the empathy and compassion that are vital aspects of a healthy personality and are often magnified in those targeted by narcissists. The narcissist leverages these very qualities, presenting a carefully constructed persona of helplessness to trigger the victim's urge to rescue or caretake. This is not genuine vulnerability, it's a performance, a strategic play in their game of control. It aims to dismantle the victim's growing confidence and independence, exploiting their inherent capacity for connection and concern. Recognizing this manipulative tactic is crucial. It requires a conscious effort to distinguish between authentic pain and a calculated display. The key lies in observing the timing and context of this sudden fragility. Does it conveniently appear precisely when you are setting boundaries, experiencing success, or moving forward with your life? Does it vanish just as quickly once the immediate goal, pulling you back in, is achieved? Learning to see through this performance requires strengthening the critical faculties of the ego, refusing to be solely governed by the emotional pull triggered by the fabricated crisis. It's about stepping back and analyzing the pattern, recognizing the symbols of manipulation embedded within the narrative they are presenting. This stage is a critical test of the ego's resilience and its commitment to the path of the self. The narcissist's tactic attempts to reinstate the old, codependent dynamic where the victim's sense of worth was tied to being the rescuer or caregiver. Breaking free means redefining your persona away from this role. It involves confronting the shadow aspects of yourself that might have been drawn to this dynamic in the first place, perhaps a deep-seated need to be needed, or unresolved issues around self-worth that made you susceptible to being defined by an external relationship. Integrating this shadow involves acknowledging these patterns without shame and choosing a different path. Carl Jung understood that this integration is not about eliminating the shadow, but about bringing it into conscious awareness, thereby reducing its power over your actions and reactions. Ignoring the lessons learned during separation, dismissing the clarity gained through painful introspection, or the messages from the unconscious revealed in dreams, makes you vulnerable to this final trap. The narcissist banking on you forgetting the reality of their consistent behavior and responding solely to the current, engineered presentation of need. Your deep unconscious often holds the unvarnished truth, communicating through symbols and archetypes that bypass the conscious mind's tendency to rationalize or hope. These archetypes, such as the eternal child needing care or the powerful sorceress manipulating reality, can offer insights into the underlying dynamics if you pay attention. Resisting this pull is an act of courage, a reassertion of your burgeoning self against the pressures of the external world and the manipulative force trying to define your reality. It's about trusting your own internal knowing, that quiet wisdom that whispers the truth even when faced with a torrent of emotional appeals and fabricated crises. Synchronicity might even play a role here, presenting timely reminders or confirmations that reinforce your resolve to stay true to the path of individuation. Perhaps you randomly encounter information about personality disorders, or a friend shares a seemingly unrelated story that mirrors your experience, strengthening your intuition that the current crisis presented by the narcissist is not what it seems. Staying grounded in the new, stronger ego means holding firm to the boundaries you have established. It means recognizing that your capacity for empathy is a gift, but it is not a weapon to be used against your own well-being and healing. The narcissist's manufactured crisis is designed to trigger that weaponized empathy, pulling you back into their drama and away from the crucial work of integrating your experiences and consolidating your new identity. It is a direct attack on your progress towards individuation. They sense your growing strength, your alignment with your authentic self, and their response is to deploy this ultimate tactic, appearing weaker than ever before to exploit your strengths. The path forward requires a vigilant awareness, a refusal to let the persona they project override the consistent pattern of behavior you have witnessed. It's about trusting the painful but honest revelations from your unconscious, interpretations of those disturbing dreams, and the clear insights gained during moments of clarity. Carl Jung's work provides a framework for understanding this internal battle, the fight to consolidate the ego's strength and align it with the wisdom of the self, resisting the regressive pull of external manipulation and the shadow aspects that seek comfort in familiar, even harmful dynamics. It's a continuous process of refining your understanding of the symbols that guide or mislead you. This engineered helplessness is a direct assault on the victim's recently fortified psychological landscape. The narcissist doesn't just ask for help. They often demand sacrifices that directly violate the boundaries that have been so painstakingly built. It might be financial support they are perfectly capable of earning, housing when they have options, or emotional labor that drains the victim's core energy reserves. This isn't about genuine need. It's about forcing the victim to betray their new self and revert to the old persona of the compliant, ever-giving caregiver. They exploit the archetypes of the rescuer or caregiver that were likely deeply ingrained in the victim's unconscious through the long-standing dynamic. The request to compromise values or limits serves a dual purpose. Firstly, it reasserts the narcissist's perceived power and control by demonstrating their ability to still influence the victim's behavior. Secondly, and perhaps more insidiously, it creates internal conflict within the victim. The ego, trying to stand firm, is challenged by the unconscious pull of the old pattern, amplified by the archetypal desire to help someone in perceived distress. This internal struggle can feel overwhelming, triggering feelings of guilt, obligation, and confusion. It's a moment where the shadow aspects of the victim, the fear of abandonment, the desire for approval, the unresolved trauma that made them susceptible to this dynamic in the first place, are brought to the surface. Giving in, even a little, can feel like a devastating setback in the journey towards individuation. It reinforces the narcissist's distorted persona and further entrenches the victim in a role they are trying desperately to shed. It tells the narcissist that the boundaries are negotiable, the self is still pliable, and the healing process is fragile. Carl Jung understood that the path to wholeness is fraught with such challenges, where external pressures test the ego's integration of the unconscious and its connection to the authentic self. Staying resolute in these moments requires a deep trust in the painful lessons learned, a refusal to let the carefully constructed facade, the narcissist's persona of utter collapse, override the persistent truth of their character, revealed through countless past experiences. It demands listening to the gut feelings, the subtle cues from the unconscious that scream danger, often showing up in restless dreams or unsettling intuitive nudges. Recognizing these internal symbols is paramount. Sometimes, a series of seemingly unrelated events might coincide with the narcissist's crisis, creating a sense of synchronicity that can be misinterpreted as a sign that you must intervene, rather than viewing it as a test of your newfound resilience. The narcissist weaponizes this, hoping you will assign meaning to these co-occurrences that serves their agenda. The victim must recognize that the narcissist's self-sabotage is not a genuine cry for help leading to potential change, but a tactical maneuver. It is a symbol of their own inability to cope with the victim's independence and growth. Their collapse is designed to trigger a familiar dance, a set of well-worn steps rooted in deeply embedded unconscious patterns within both individuals. Breaking free means refusing to dance, even when the music of obligation and guilt is playing at its loudest. It means allowing the narcissist to experience the consequences of their own actions, no matter how difficult that is to witness. This isn't about being cruel. It's about allowing reality to function and refusing to enable destructive behavior, for your own well-being, and as a refusal to participate in their manipulation of reality. Your ego's strength is tested here, its ability to prioritize your own needs and the integrity of yourself over the demands of the narcissist's crisis-driven persona. The journey of individuation necessitates confronting these difficult moments, understanding the shadow elements they stir up within you, and choosing a path aligned with your authentic truth, guided by the deeper wisdom of the self, not the desperate pleas of a manipulative persona. The struggle to disentangle is not just external, it is a profound internal psychological work, exploring the symbols and archetypes that have held you bound, processing them through conscious effort, and the insights offered by the unconscious, perhaps vividly illustrated in your dreams. In essence, navigating these manipulative challenges, viewed through the framework offered by Carl Jung, is not merely an external battle, but a deep internal journey of individuation. It requires bolstering the ego to see past the deceptive persona and align with the integrity of the self, integrating the shadow aspects illuminated by the conflict. This process taps into the wisdom of the unconscious, often revealed through potent symbols in dreams and underlying archetypes that shape our responses. Sometimes, synchronicity offers meaningful insight along the way. Your commitment to this inner work is powerful. How has exploring your own psychological landscape informed your journey of breaking free? For deep thinkers ready to delve deeper into the unconscious and the path of the self, subscribe and activate notifications today. Remember, you are not broken. You are becoming.